Ladies and gentlemen, there's a moment in life when you realize someone isn't just engaging with you, they're testing you. It starts subtly, a missed call, a delayed reply, an unnecessary argument. These aren't random occurrences. They're moves in a game you didn't sign up for. Boundaries are the foundation of any healthy relationship. They are the invisible lines that define where your personal space, values, and priorities begin, and where someone else's influence should end. When someone plays games with your emotions, it's often because they want to test those boundaries, to see how far they can push before you resist. This isn't always malicious. It could be a subconscious behavior rooted in their insecurities or a lack of self-awareness. However, the reason behind their actions is secondary. What matters is how you respond. When boundaries are weak or undefined, people are more likely to overstep. They may cancel plans last minute, make snide remarks disguised as jokes, or engage in behaviors that leave you feeling uncertain or disrespected. Each of these moments is a small test, a probe to see how much they can get away with. And if you allow it even once, it sets a precedent. Over time, these small oversteps can snowball into significant issues, leaving you feeling powerless and undervalued. To establish firm boundaries, the first step is clarity. You need to know what you will and won't tolerate. This requires introspection. Take time to reflect on past experiences where you felt disrespected or manipulated. What was it about those situations that crossed a line for you? Was it a lack of communication, a disregard for your time, a failure to follow through on commitments? By identifying these patterns, you can pinpoint the behaviors that you need to guard against moving forward. Once you have clarity, the next step is communication. Boundaries are not effective if they remain unspoken. The person engaging in manipulative behavior needs to know where you stand. This doesn't mean you need to confront them aggressively or create unnecessary conflict. In fact, boundaries are often best communicated calmly and assertively. For example, if someone frequently cancels plans without notice, you might say, "I value my time and make an effort to stick to commitments. I'd appreciate it if we could confirm plans ahead of time." This statement is clear, direct, and respectful. However, it's important to understand that not everyone will respond positively to boundaries, especially if they are used to getting their way. Some people may test you further, pushing back against your limits to see if you're serious. This is where consistency becomes critical. If you establish a boundary but fail to enforce it, you send a mixed message. It's like building a fence and leaving the gate wide open. For a boundary to be effective, it must be upheld consistently, even when it's uncomfortable or inconvenient. Consistency also requires self-discipline. There may be moments when you feel tempted to let things slide, especially if the person playing games is someone you care about deeply. But letting things slide once often leads to letting them slide again. And before you know it, the boundary you worked so hard to establish is eroded. Remind yourself that enforcing boundaries isn't about being cold or unkind. It's about protecting your peace and ensuring that your relationships are built on mutual respect. Another crucial aspect of boundary setting is self-respect. To demand respect from others, you must first respect yourself. This means recognizing your worth and refusing to accept treatment that diminishes it. People who play games with your emotions often rely on your willingness to compromise your self-worth for the sake of maintaining the relationship. They may use guilt, flattery, or manipulation to make you question your boundaries. But when you have a strong sense of self-respect, these tactics lose their power. You become less concerned with pleasing others and more focused on honoring your own needs and values. It's also important to remember that boundaries are not static, they evolve over time. As you grow and change, your priorities and values may shift, requiring you to reassess and adjust your boundaries accordingly. This is a natural part of personal growth and should be embraced, not resisted. Don't be afraid to reestablish or redefine your boundaries as needed. Doing so is a sign of strength and self-awareness, not weakness. Setting boundaries also means being prepared to face resistance. Not everyone will understand or appreciate your need for boundaries, especially if it disrupts their ability to control or manipulate you. Some may accuse you of being selfish, difficult, or even unkind. This is often a reflection of their own discomfort, not a flaw in your approach. Stand firm in your decision and don't feel the need to justify yourself to those who refuse to respect your limits. Finally, boundaries are not just about managing the behavior of others, they are also about managing your own. You must hold yourself accountable for respecting the boundaries you set. This includes recognizing when you are tempted to bend your own rules or make exceptions. While flexibility is important in relationships, it should never come at the cost of your self-respect or peace of mind. By maintaining clear, consistent boundaries, you create a framework for healthier interactions and protect yourself from the emotional games others may try to play. Emotional detachment is not about shutting off your feelings or becoming indifferent. It is about reclaiming control over your inner world. When someone plays games with your emotions, they thrive on eliciting specific reactions from you, whether it's frustration, jealousy, insecurity, or even guilt. These reactions give them power, allowing them to dictate how you feel and ultimately how you behave. Emotional detachment, therefore, is the art of breaking free from this cycle and ensuring that your emotions remain under your control, not theirs. To practice emotional detachment, the first step is awareness. Often, emotional manipulation happens subtly, disguised as casual remarks, jokes, or seemingly innocent actions. A delayed response to a text message, a vague answer to a direct question, or a sudden shift in attention can all be tools used to provoke a reaction. The key is to recognize these patterns for what they are: attempts to destabilize your emotional state. Once you become aware of these tactics, you can begin to separate yourself from the need to respond impulsively. Emotional detachment also requires a shift in perspective. Instead of viewing the other person's behavior as a reflection of your worth, see it for what it truly is, a reflection of their own insecurities or need for control. This shift is critical because it removes the personal sting from their actions. When someone plays games, it's rarely about you. It's about their need to assert dominance, test boundaries, or gain validation. By understanding this, you can detach yourself from taking their actions personally and respond from a place of calmness and clarity. Another essential aspect of emotional detachment is learning to pause before reacting. Emotional games are designed to provoke immediate, often irrational responses. They aim to catch you off guard, pulling you into a reactive state where you're more likely to say or do something that gives the manipulator the upper hand. By practicing the art of pausing, you create space between the stimulus and your response. This space allows you to assess the situation objectively and choose a response that aligns with your values and goals rather than reacting out of anger or hurt. Building emotional detachment also involves cultivating a strong sense of self-awareness. You need to understand your emotional triggers and vulnerabilities, those buttons that, when pressed, cause you to react impulsively. Perhaps it's a fear of abandonment, a need for validation, or a sensitivity to criticism. Whatever your triggers may be, identifying them is the first step toward neutralizing their power. When you know what affects you most deeply, you can prepare yourself to respond with composure instead of being caught off guard. Practicing mindfulness is another powerful tool for emotional detachment. Mindfulness teaches you to observe your thoughts and emotions without judgment, allowing you to experience them fully without becoming overwhelmed. When you're mindful, you can acknowledge feelings like anger, frustration, or sadness without letting them control your actions. Instead of reacting to someone's manipulative behavior, you can step back, observe the situation, and choose a response that maintains your peace and dignity. Emotional detachment also involves creating and maintaining emotional boundaries. While physical boundaries define your personal space, emotional boundaries protect your mental and emotional well-being. This means deciding what behaviors you will and won't accept and being prepared to enforce those limits. For example, if someone frequently criticizes or belittles you to provoke a reaction, an emotional boundary might involve calmly addressing the behavior and, if it continues, distancing yourself from the interaction. A critical component of emotional detachment is focusing on what you can control and letting go of what you can't. You cannot control how someone else behaves or what games they choose to play. What you can control is your response to their behavior. By shifting your focus inward and concentrating on your own actions, thoughts, and emotions, you take back the power that manipulative individuals try to wield over you. Emotional detachment is not a one-time decision. It's a skill that requires consistent practice. There will be moments when you feel tempted to engage in the drama or react impulsively to someone's provocations. In these moments, remind yourself of the bigger picture. Reacting emotionally may provide a temporary release, but it often leaves you feeling drained and powerless in the long run. On the other hand, maintaining emotional detachment allows you to conserve your energy and approach the situation with a clear mind. It's also important to remember that emotional detachment doesn't mean becoming unfeeling or apathetic. You can still care about someone and value your relationship with them while maintaining a healthy level of emotional independence. This balance is crucial because it allows you to engage with others authentically without losing yourself in the process. By remaining emotionally detached, you can approach conflicts and challenges with a sense of calmness and clarity, making it easier to find constructive solutions. Developing emotional detachment also means learning to find fulfillment and validation from within. When you rely on external sources, such as the approval or attention of others, you become vulnerable to manipulation. By cultivating self-confidence and self-worth, you create an inner foundation that cannot be easily shaken by external events. This inner stability makes you less susceptible to the emotional games of others, allowing you to navigate relationships with strength and grace. Another aspect of emotional detachment is knowing when to walk away. There are times when no amount of detachment or strategy will change the behavior of someone who is intent on playing games. Recognizing these situations and choosing to distance yourself is an act of self-respect, not defeat. Walking away is not about giving up. It's about prioritizing your well-being. It's about prioritizing your well-being and refusing to participate in dynamics that undermine your peace. Calling out manipulative behavior directly is a powerful way to disrupt the games someone is playing with you. It requires courage, self-awareness, and a calm demeanor to confront such behavior effectively. Manipulative individuals thrive in ambiguity and silence, relying on the fact that their actions will go unnoticed or unchallenged. By addressing the behavior head on, you dismantle their ability to operate in the shadows and force them to confront their actions in the light of truth. The first step in calling out manipulative behavior is recognizing it for what it is. Manipulation often disguises itself in subtlety. Passive-aggressive comments, guilt-tripping, gaslighting, or withholding affection as punishment. These tactics are designed to make you doubt yourself, question your perceptions, or feel guilty for asserting your needs. The key to identifying manipulation is paying close attention to how you feel during and after interactions. If you frequently feel confused, drained, or anxious, it may be a sign that manipulation is at play. Once you've identified manipulative behavior, the next step is preparation. Confronting someone who is playing games isn't something you should do impulsively or in the heat of the moment. Emotional reactions such as anger or frustration can cloud your judgment and make it difficult to communicate effectively. Instead, take time to reflect on what you've observed and how it has impacted you. Write down specific examples of the behavior, including what was said or done and how it made you feel. This clarity will help you articulate your concerns without being sidetracked or dismissed. When addressing manipulative behavior, it's important to choose the right time and place. Confrontations should occur in a setting that allows for privacy and minimal distractions. Avoid bringing up your concerns during an argument in the presence of others, as this can escalate. In the confrontation itself, your tone and demeanor are critical. Stay calm, assertive, and composed. Avoid accusations or blaming language, as this can provoke defensiveness and derail the conversation. Instead, use I statements to express your feelings and observations. For example, instead of saying, "You're always trying to make me feel guilty," you might say, "I've noticed that when I don't agree with you, I feel like I'm being pressured to change my mind. It makes me feel uncomfortable." This approach focuses on your experience rather than placing blame, making it harder for the other person to deny or dismiss your concerns. Be specific and direct when calling out manipulative behavior. Vague statements or generalizations can give the other person room to deflect or deny responsibility. For instance, rather than saying, "You're being manipulative," describe the specific behavior. "When you cancel plans at the last minute and don't tell me why, it feels like my time isn't being respected." This clarity not only makes your concerns harder to refute, but also signals that you are paying attention and won't tolerate being treated poorly. Expect resistance when you call out manipulative behavior. People who engage in such tactics are often skilled at deflecting blame, rationalizing their actions, or turning the tables to make you feel like the problem. They may deny their behavior, accuse you of being overly sensitive, or attempt to guilt you into backing down. Anticipate these responses and prepare to stand your ground. Remind yourself that your feelings and observations are valid, and don't allow their reaction to shake your confidence. Or it's also essential to remain focused on the behavior itself rather than the person. Labeling someone as manipulative or toxic can feel like a personal attack and shift the conversation away from the issue at hand. By keeping the focus on specific actions and their impact, you increase the likelihood of a productive dialogue and reduce the chance of escalating the conflict into a personal battle. Calling out manipulative behavior isn't just about addressing the other person, it's also an opportunity to assert your own boundaries. Clearly communicate what you will and won't tolerate moving forward. For example, if someone frequently uses guilt to get their way, you might say, "I understand that you're upset, but I won't make decisions based on guilt. I need to feel respected in this relationship." By setting a clear boundary, you signal that manipulative tactics will no longer be effective and encourage healthier patterns of interaction. However, not all confrontations will lead to change. Some people may refuse to acknowledge their behavior or continue to justify it despite your efforts to address it. In such cases, it's important to consider your own well-being and whether maintaining the relationship is worth the emotional toll. Calling out manipulative behavior is a way of asserting your self-respect and protecting your peace, but it's not a guarantee that the other person will change. Recognize that the response is beyond your control and focus on what you can do to uphold your own standards and values. Ultimately, calling out manipulative behavior is an act of empowerment. It shifts the balance of power, placing you in control of your emotional well-being and creating a space for honesty and respect in your interactions. While it can be challenging and uncomfortable, it is a necessary step toward breaking free from emotional games and fostering healthier, more authentic connections in your life. Protecting your self-worth is one of the most important steps when someone tries to play emotional games with you. It requires a deep understanding of your value and an unwavering commitment to maintaining your dignity regardless of how others treat you. When faced with manipulative behavior, preserving your self-worth acts as a shield, ensuring you remain grounded in your confidence and self-respect rather than being swayed by the tactics of someone attempting to undermine you. At the core of protecting your self-worth is self-awareness. Understanding who you are, what you bring to the table, and what you stand for allows you to resist the attempts of others to make you feel less than you are. Manipulative individuals often prey on insecurities, subtly or overtly suggesting that you are inadequate, undeserving, or not enough. This might manifest as backhanded compliments, comparisons to others, or dismissive behavior. Recognizing these tactics for what they are, a reflection of the other person's insecurities rather than a truthful assessment of your worth, is crucial. One of the most effective ways to safeguard your self-worth is by developing a strong internal dialogue. What you tell yourself matters profoundly because it shapes how you perceive yourself and how you respond to external challenges. Affirmations, for instance, can help reinforce your sense of value. Remind yourself daily of your strengths, accomplishments, and the unique qualities that make you who you are. Instead of internalizing criticism or negative feedback from others, focus on cultivating a mindset that prioritizes self-acceptance and growth. Boundaries also play a critical role in maintaining your self-worth. When someone plays games with you, they often test how far they can push you before you react or give in. By setting clear boundaries, you establish limits on what you are willing to tolerate. For example, if someone frequently cancels plans at the last minute without explanation, you might decide to stop making plans with them altogether. Protecting your self-worth means understanding that your time, energy, and emotions are valuable and refusing to invest them in situations or people that consistently disrespect or disregard them. To uphold your self-worth, it's essential to avoid seeking validation from external sources, especially those who play games with your emotions. Manipulative individuals often exploit this need for validation, using it to control your behavior or keep you in a state of uncertainty. Instead, focus on building internal validation by recognizing and appreciating your own achievements, values, and progress. Getting your hubas, trust your judgment, and remember that your worth is not contingent on anyone else's approval or recognition. Surrounding yourself with a supportive network of people who uplift and encourage you is another key element in protecting your self-worth. Relationships that are rooted in mutual respect, trust, and kindness provide a safe space for you to thrive. These connections remind you of your inherent value, especially when you encounter individuals who attempt to belittle or manipulate you. On the flip side, it's equally important to distance yourself from toxic relationships or environments that erode your confidence or self-esteem. Protecting your self-worth sometimes means making difficult choices about who you allow into your life. Resilience is a vital component of maintaining your self-worth when faced with emotional games. Manipulative behavior can be emotionally draining, and it's easy to feel discouraged or defeated when someone's actions undermine your confidence. Building resilience involves learning to bounce back from these experiences, using them as opportunities to grow stronger rather than allowing them to diminish your sense of self. Resilience also means recognizing that your worth is not determined by how others treat you, but by how you choose to see yourself. Practicing self-compassion is equally critical in protecting your self-worth. When someone plays games with you, it can stir up feelings of self-doubt, frustration, or inadequacy. In these moments, it's important to treat yourself with kindness and understanding rather than harsh criticism. Remind yourself that it's okay to feel hurt or confused, and that these emotions do not define your value. By showing yourself compassion, you create a nurturing inner environment that reinforces your self-worth even in challenging circumstances. Another important aspect of preserving your self-worth is focusing on your goals and aspirations. Manipulative behavior often serves as a distraction, pulling your attention away from your own priorities and onto the game someone else is playing. By staying committed to your goals and directing your energy toward personal growth, you not only maintain your self-worth, but also demonstrate to others that you are not easily swayed or controlled. This focus on your own path reinforces the idea that your value comes from within, not from external validation. Equally important is the ability to let go of situations or people that consistently undermine your self-worth. Sometimes the best way to protect yourself is to walk away from dynamics that are toxic or unbalanced. Letting go is not a sign of weakness or failure, but an affirmation of your commitment to your well-being. It signals that you value yourself enough to prioritize peace and self-respect over engaging with those who fail to recognize your worth. Building and protecting your self-worth is an ongoing process. It requires consistent effort, reflection, and a willingness to confront behaviors or situations that threaten to diminish your confidence. It's about knowing your value and refusing to settle for anything less than what you deserve. It's about standing firm in your beliefs, maintaining your dignity, and choosing to rise above the emotional games others may try to play. And we know that those relentless roadblocks are actually weaknesses. It's about standing firm in your beliefs, in your view. Walking away is one of the most powerful moves you can make when someone plays games with you. It is not a sign of weakness, but a profound statement of self-respect and strength. When someone manipulates you, disrespects your boundaries, or keeps you in a state of confusion, the decision to walk away sends a clear message that you value your peace, dignity, and emotional well-being above any relationship or situation that fails to honor them. Walking away is not about giving up. It's about choosing yourself. The act of walking away begins with a mindset shift. It requires you to recognize that you are not responsible for fixing someone else's behavior or enduring mistreatment to keep the peace. Manipulative individuals often rely on the belief that you will stay no matter how they act. They use emotional hooks, guilt, promises, or even fleeting moments of affection to keep you engaged, stringing you along without ever meeting your needs or addressing your concerns. By deciding to walk away, you break free from this cycle and reclaim your power. Walking away also demands courage. It is not always easy to leave a situation, especially if there is an emotional investment or a history of shared experiences. You may second-guess yourself, wondering if you are being too harsh or if things might improve if you just wait a little longer. This internal conflict is a natural response to change, but it's essential to remember that staying in a toxic dynamic only perpetuates the harm. The courage to walk away comes from understanding that your emotional health and self-worth are worth far more than the temporary discomfort of letting go. When you walk away, you set a boundary that cannot be ignored. Boundaries are often verbalized, but they hold little weight without actions to back them up. Walking away is the ultimate boundary. It shows that you are serious about what you will and will not tolerate. It forces the other person to confront the reality of their behavior and the consequences of their actions. Whether they choose to reflect and change or continue their games, your decision to walk away reinforces your commitment to self-respect and accountability. The process of walking away also involves detachment. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring or become indifferent. It means you let go of the emotional entanglement that keeps you stuck. It's about separating your sense of self from the other person's behavior and refusing to let their actions dictate your worth or happiness. Detachment allows you to see the situation clearly, free from the cloud of emotions that often accompany manipulative dynamics. It gives you the clarity to make decisions based on what's best for you rather than being swayed by fear, guilt, or hope for change. Walking away requires you to prioritize your peace. Manipulative games often create chaos, confusion, and emotional turmoil, leaving you drained and uncertain. By removing yourself from the situation, you create space for clarity, healing, and growth. You give yourself permission to focus on your own needs and desires rather than constantly reacting to someone else's agenda. This space is essential for rebuilding your confidence and regaining your sense of control. When you walk away, you also redefine the narrative. Manipulative individuals often try to control the story, painting themselves as victims or heroes while casting you as the problem. By choosing to leave, you take back control of your story. You are no longer a passive participant in their games, but an active creator of your own path. This shift in perspective is empowering and liberating, allowing you to move forward with confidence and purpose. Walking away can also inspire respect. Even if the person playing games doesn't acknowledge it, others will notice your strength and integrity. Your actions set an example, showing that it's possible to stand up for yourself and refuse to accept less than you deserve. This respect is not just external, it's also internal. Walking away affirms your own worth, reinforcing the belief that you deserve kindness, honesty, and respect in all your relationships. The decision to walk away is often met with resistance, both from the other person and from within yourself. Manipulative individuals may try to pull you back in with apologies, promises, or attempts to shift the blame. They may accuse you of overreacting or being unreasonable, hoping to weaken your resolve. Internally, you may wrestle with feelings of guilt, doubt, or sadness. These challenges are natural, but there are also opportunities to strengthen your commitment to your well-being. Remind yourself why you made the decision to walk away, and focus on the long-term benefits of creating a life free from manipulation and games. Walking away is not just a single act, it's a process. It involves cutting ties, both physically and emotionally, and resisting the temptation to return to old patterns. This process may require time, support, and self-reflection. Surround yourself with people who uplift and encourage you, and seek guidance from mentors or counselors if needed. Practice self-care and invest in activities that bring you joy and fulfillment. As you distance yourself from the situation, you will begin to see the positive changes that come from choosing yourself. In walking away, you open the door to healthier, more fulfilling relationships. You create the possibility for connections based on mutual respect, trust, and authenticity rather than manipulation and games. By letting go of what no longer serves you, you make room for what truly aligns with your values and aspirations. Walking away is not just an ending, it's a beginning. An opportunity to redefine your standards, reclaim your power, and build a life that reflects your true worth.